We can't count.
Okay, so I'm going to read a section of that. According to her mother, there was only one way to truly clean a bathroom floor. Danny dropped to her hands and knees, wiping left, right, and circular, rubbing the cleanser into the tile with vigor. The activity called up memories from her childhood, beating rugs on the back porch, ironing her father's uniform with the appropriate amount of starch, making beds with military precision, flipping mattresses at appointed intervals. Cleanliness was next to godliness to her mother, and by golly, Charlene Spencer was going to make sure they all got into the kingdom. Nearly 3 decades later, and things are different for Danielle Spencer Best. Her dining room table overflowed with textbooks, workbooks, and at least one art or science project, all necessary when one's children attend the elite Mason Preparatory Academy. Depending on the season, sports gear littered the foyer, joined by half a dozen pairs of shoes. The dishwasher door hung open, the last night's clean dishes held captive by the morning's dirty plates. The house reeked of 2 boys, 3 four-legged animals, a distracted father, and the spirit and soul of an exhausted mother. Nearly 3 decades later, and Danny's childhood home remained the model of cleanliness and order. One could lick the floors and walk away with enough good bacteria to live until the return of Halley's Comet. The floors in her house, lick one and possibly die on the spot. Danny's reflections diverted her mind from the reason the floor required cleaning in the first place. She reviewed the handiwork. Yep, she'd gotten up all the blood. She shouldn't have provoked him, she finally reasoned. His job was stressful and it had been a rough week. She planned to house clean before he got home, but Brendan had an asthma attack and she rushed him to the ER when he couldn't find his inhaler. That crisis resolved, she picked up takeout on the way home, the lateness of the hour and the tiredness in her bones refusing to give way for a home-cooked meal. She hadn't paid attention to the account balance and didn't know an automatic payment was deducted seconds after hers. Thanks to the app on his phone, he knew they were in the negative before she did. He was livid when she walked in the door. In short order, the argument bounced off money management and ricocheted to her worthiness as a human. Every misdeed of her recent past was tallied, including the one that connected them in the first place. You're such a whore, he sneered. She walked away from him, stating that she didn't want to fight. In truth, she didn't want their boys to hear his cruelty. One or both always seemed to make eye contact with her during their clashes, and it tore at her heart. Leaving the boys to their video games, she calmly took the stairs to their bedroom with a plan to put away the week's laundry. Look, you're right, I'm wrong. Please, let's not do this, she implored when they were out of earshot of the children. Instead, he got louder, the name-calling more vile, the hostility more intense. Her silence seemed to incite him. He continued to detail the ought he held against her weight, her looks, the fact that she didn't earn an income. She was in the master bath putting away towels when he mentioned her family. By then, she had enough. Don't you dare bring my parents into this. They did a better job raising me than yours did you, she spat. She didn't see his fist, but felt this declaration of control as the force pushed her back and sideways with such impact, her face slammed into the sink. The punch caused a nosebleed and the porcelain loosened a tooth. She instinctively released a circled her neck. She was assaulted by twin fears, the inability to breathe and the look in his eyes. As she fought off dizziness, she could hear Seth screaming. The force of his older brother jumping on their father's back shot waves of pain inside as it bore the weight of 2 bodies. The man released his grip as he stood and slung 9-year-old Brendan to the floor. Coughing and summoning air into her lungs, Danny threw herself in front of the child, attempting to shield him from the same fist that started the melee. 4 sets of hands, arms, and legs wrestled wildly as everyone wailed at varying decibels. The angry man pulled himself up, cursed, and thundered out of the house. He's not a good daddy. He's so mean, Seth pouted afterwards. The trio moved to the master bedroom where they sat rocking as she hugged the boys tightly. Without a word, Brennan disengaged and walked back to the bathroom. He returned with a wet washcloth, which he placed gently against his mother's wounded face. He kissed her softly on the forehead, the coldness of his eyes contradicting his gentleness. As a concession, Danny allowed her sons to make a blanket fort in the den as they watched the latest Avengers movie. As their dogs huddled against the boys in the darkness, she watched their distress evaporate as they focused on Loki's attempt to take over Earth. Half an hour later, they surrendered to sleep. Now, standing before the bathroom mirror, Danny inventoried her next steps: wear makeup and collars to hide the neck bruises, make a dental appointment, clean the blood off the floor. She resolved to do better next time, keep the house spotless, mind the bank balance, meal prep once a week. Panic arose as she watched the clock. This was the longest he stayed away. What if he didn't come back? The house phone rang. He was calling to apologize and say he was on his way home. Nearly tripping as she rushed back to her bedroom, she mentally rehearsed her forgiveness. She picked up the receiver, took a deep breath to calm herself, and with a smile on her face she hoped would seep into her voice, she issued a greeting. Her heart sank as she answered, "I'm sorry, Pastor isn't home right now. May I take a message?"
Okay, that was brilliant.
Intense.